This video is a review of injectable medications and how to calculate dosages. Okay. Now, I always suggest to read the end of the question first so that you know what you're being asked of. In this particular situation, they're asking milliliters per dose. And then I stop and I ask myself, what do I need to know in this label above that I'm not looking at yet? What do I need to know to answer this? Well, milliliters per dose. I need to know how much a doctor wants, and then I need to know my concentration. So if I just do that at the very beginning, I'm not going to get lost in all the extra stuff that's going to be up there above. So doctor's order, I have that right here. The doctor wants 22 milligrams. That's my D, 22 milligrams. And what do I have? I'm going to look over here at my label, and I see a couple options here. I see this is a ratio proportion. There's 40 milligrams and 4 milliliters, which is the same as 10 milligrams and 1 milliliter. And when I see that, I typically go for the less numbers because there's less likelihood to have a calculator misfire. So this is going to be 10 milligrams times 1 milliliter. So I'm going to turn on my calculator and do 22 divided by 10, which equals 2.2, and I'm going to multiply that by 1, and then it's going to be 2.2 milliliters is my final answer. I want to make sure that I label it and show my work and my testing. Next practice question here is how many milliliters will you give per dose? Milliliters per dose. Again, doctor's order, drug concentration. My doctor's order is 0.4 milligrams. And what do I have in here? I have 2 milliliters in the vial. Don't care. What I really want to look at is these numbers over here. So it looks like there are 500 micrograms, which is the same as 0.5 milligrams in 2 milliliters. So let's see, I'm going to write my D down, 0.4 milligrams over, what do I have? I can choose either of these. I'm just going to take the 5. Why not? So I'm going to write 0.5 milligrams in 2 milliliters. So I'm just saying I can pick because these are ratios proportions. So you can use either of those. You don't want to use both of them, but you can use either of them and get the same number. So in this case, I'm going to do 0.4 divided by 0.5, and that's 0.8, and I'm going to multiply that by 2, and I'm going to get 1.6 milliliters. And just for fun, let's do the other concentration. So my doctor's order is 0.4 milligrams. And I'm going to look at this number down here below. And what do I have? I have 0.25 milligrams times 1 milliliter. Okay, going back to my calculator, it's 0.4 divided by 0.25. That's going to equal 1.6. And I'm going to multiply that by 1. And again, it equals 1.6. So that's the beauty of how ratio and proportion works. Either of those numbers work. Okay, let's keep moving on. We have NSF. All right, how many milliliters we administer per dose? That's the typical question you're going to get asked for these. Again, I need to have my doctor's order, how many milligrams, and I need to have my concentration. So I'm going to have to look into this label, and I know that this vial has 1 gram. I don't know how much fluid is in that gram, so I got to come over here and start reading. And it says for IM administration, oh yes, I am giving it IM. I want to add 2.5 milliliters of sterile water. I see that right here. And it says withdraw contents, provides an approximate volume of 3 milliliters, and then here is the concentration they're telling me. So I want to tell you right now, this number, when you see this, you want to use this as your concentration, okay? Whenever the manufacturer gives this to you. If they do not give it to you, you're going to use this number, 2.5 in 1,000 milligrams. Sorry, my computer keeps going to sleep there. And 1,000 milligrams. Plugging in my computer. Sorry about that. Okay. I've made a lot of videos. I would do a restart, but I'm going to just keep on going. Except now I lost my pencil. This is becoming a nightmare. Oh, here it is. Okay, sorry guys. All right, it's a little blooper here to brighten your day. All right, anyway, right back to where I was. My D is 750 milligrams. My H is right here, 330 milligrams times 1 milliliter. I'm going to get to my calculator, 750 divided by 330. That equals 2.2727. Okay, so I want to round this to the nearest tenth because that's typically where we round our medications. So I'm going to look at the 7 in order to get there. This is the 100th value. And I'm going to look at that, and because it's 5 or above, I'm going to round this to 2.3 milliliters. That's my final answer. Okay, next question. How many milligrams will you give per day? So every now and then you read and you're like, oh, I'm not going to do math in the same way I thought I was going to do math. Milligrams per day. And you know what I like to do? I like to just go in and write. I'm missing the line here because the line is too small. So I'm going to write my label in already because that's a little good reminder for me, and I've already got my label in. So milligrams per day. What do I need to know for milligrams per day? So look away from your screen and say, what do I need to know? Milligrams per day, I need to know how many milligrams per dose, right? Milligrams per dose. And then number 2 I need to know is doses per day, right? I need to know milligrams per dose and how many doses per day. That's going to get you my answer. So how many milligrams per dose am I going to get? I'm going to go look at my doctor's order, and here it is. It's 60 milligrams. I'm getting 60 milligrams. And then I got to look at how many doses per day, and I'm getting it IM BID. So you need to make sure you know what BID means. BID is twice a day. So if I'm giving 60 milligrams 2 times a day, 60 milligrams 2 times per day, I'm going to multiply 60 by 2, and that equals 120 milligrams. Okay, moving on. Milliliters per dose, and that's telling me express my answer in hundredths. Remember, that's 2 points after the decimal point, okay? Two places. So, okay, and this label is a little blurry, and I'm sorry for that. I won't have blurry labels on your tests. We'll have nice clean labels. Okay, so what do I need to know? I need to know my doctor's order. My D is 2,500 units, and what do I have? I'm going to come over here and look, and you see this nice and big, 10,000 units per milliliter. So my D is 2,500, my H is 10,000 times 1 milliliter. I'm going to take off 2 zeros here and 2 zeros there because that's less zeros on my calculator. So I'm going to do 25 divided by 100 equals, I get 0.25. Okay, now how do I round this? I want it rounded to the nearest hundredths. What do I do? Do I add a 0 here? Do I round something? No, I don't. It is already, we have the answer of 0.25. Now, this is the hundredths value. You want to leave it where it is. There's nothing after that. This, you want to make sure you have the 0 in front of this decimal because we want to make sure that it's not 25 milliliters. We want everybody to know there's a decimal here. So we do a 0 before, but no 0 after, right? Okay. Good. Next question. Oh, make sure you also write milliliters here. Okay. Next question. All right. Milligrams per day. Again, I need to know milligrams per dose. And number 2, doses per day. Okay. Milligrams per dose. How many milligrams per dose am I having here? I got to go to my doctor's order, and I say 18 milligrams. 18 milligrams. Doses per day, I see BID. And again, I remember that's 2 times per day. So it's going to be 18 times 2, which is 36 milligrams. And that's it. Okay. How many units will you administer per dose? Units per dose. Units per dose. All right. Well, that's a pretty easy question to answer. I want 4,250 units per dose sub Q. Okay. And that's it. So there's no math in here. It's just asking how many units would I give per dose, and this is how many units it is. So it's kind of a tricky here, 4,250. Sometimes the doctor will ask you. Sometimes they don't know. Sometimes the patient will ask you. So you do need to know how many units per dose. But here, now it says round to the nearest tenth. Is that tricky? Or I'm sorry, nearest hundredth. Is that tricky? Because 4,250 doesn't have any, any decimals. And we would never want to do this, right? We don't do these trailing zeros. So rounding to the nearest hundredth, it's a whole number. So you don't need to round that. So just keep in mind, if something says round to the nearest tenth and there's a long line, you stop at only one number. If something says rounded the nearest hundredth, but it's only, the answer is 0.7, that's already rounded. So you don't need to move it either way. I hope that that's not confusing. Okay, let's look at the next question. It's milliliters per dose. Again, think to yourself, what do I need to know? I need to know my doctor's order and my concentration. So my doctor's orders, my D equals 0.25 milligrams. And what do I have? I'm going to go look in here, and I'm going to look at the milligrams because they're already there. 0.5 milligrams times 2 milliliters. Okay, so I'm going to go 0.25 divided by 0.5, and that is 0.5. And I'm going to multiply that by 2, and that is going to equal 1. So this is 1 milliliter per dose. Okay, how many milliliters will you administer per dose, round to the nearest hundredth? Okay, I need to know my doctor's order. With my D, it's 350 units. And what do I have? Got to go into my concentration here. So I'm gonna go with the lower one. I like less zeros here. So it's 1,000 units times 1 milliliter. And even though I'm just writing 1 here, I want to recommend that you just write times 1, because when you get out of the habit of not doing the 1, all of a sudden you don't do that and it's 2 or 5, and you miss a question. So just always write the times 1 there, just to make sure you realize that little bit is part of the equation. Okay, so, and I'm going to take 1 0 off of each of these on the top and on the bottom, and that's going to make my calculator misfires a little less likely, although they do happen, right? So I'm going to take 35 and divide that by, what am I dividing by? 100, and that's going to equal 0.35. And that is round to the nearest hundredth, so that's wonderful. 0.35 milliliters is my answer. And again, we want to have this 0 here, you want to have a nice decimal, and then you want to make sure you say milliliters. Okay, good fun. All right, let's look. Fill in the volume to be administered on the syringe. So this is coloring in nursing school, and it's, who doesn't like to color? So let's see. So I have to show on the syringe how many milliliters I'm going to be giving per dose, right? Because we have to fill that in. So D over H times V, my doctor's order is 8 milligrams. And what do I have? I have 5 milligrams in 1 milliliter. That's my setup. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to do 8 divided by 5 times 1 equals 1.6 milliliters. Okay. And again, when you're doing your tests, write your workout so we can help you and see where you went. You know, if you have a mistake here. So if you didn't color appropriately, we know it was a coloring issue and not a math issue, right? All right. So 1.6 is right here, right? This is 2 here. This is 1.5, a little bit more. And then I'm not really gonna sit here and color, although I do have, you know, choices here. I can make some pretty colors and fill in the syringe in ways that you wish you could when you were taking your math test. And now we're going to have coloring with Doreen for just a moment. If I had music, I would play the music for you, but I'm almost to the end now, so I have to continue. It's a beautiful rainbow, isn't it? Okay, I bet you feel much more at peace right now and happy. Okay, so here's what your syringe will look like, and you do want to make sure it's clear at 1.6. Okay, that was fun. Okay, let's go to the next question. All right, how many milliliters will you give per dose? Milliliters per dose. All right, I need to know my doctor's order and my label concentration. My doctor's order is 750 milligrams. What do I have in my label? I have a gram here. I got to go in here and read some stuff. It says for IM, I immediately go and look and make sure I want IM. I do. It's going to say to add 2.5 water, shake it, withdraw. Here's the volume, 3 milliliters for this concentration, 330 milligrams. Again, that's what I want to use, 330 milligrams times 1 milliliter. Go to my calculator, 750 divided by 330 equals 2.2727. That's not a 7. All right, I'm going to round this to the nearest tenth. I'm going to look at this 7, and I'm going to round this up to 2.3 milliliters. And I swear we already did this question, but that's okay. We'll do it again. Next question. Uh-oh, falling asleep again. Sorry about that. My computer's as tired as me. All right, next question. Let's see. How many milligrams max can be given each day? Okay, so in order to fill that out, I have to look at my doctor's order and my label concentration. And what do I have? I have 8 milligrams is what the doctor ordered. And my concentration is right here. I have 5 milligrams times 1 milliliter. Go to my calculator. 8 divided by 5 equals 1.6. No, look at that. Look what I did today. I just did 1.6 milliliters before I realized that's not what I was asking. And the only reason I caught myself at the end is because it says max milligrams per day. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to say max milligrams per day. It's going to say, all right, so what did the doctor order? The doctor ordered this many milligrams per dose, right? and the doctor ordered it every few hours PRN. So this is a completely different question. I went right off track there. PRN means whenever necessary. So this is for agitation. So whenever your patient is agitated, you might choose to give this medication. So how many milligrams max can be given each day is saying if every 4 hours this patient were to get dosed with this medication, how many milligrams would be per day? So every 4 hours would mean 6 times a day, right? 6 times 4 is 24. So you would write 6 times per day because a lot of students multiply by 4. Okay, so you want to just keep on track that it's 6 times per day, right? And if we gave 8 milligrams each dose, how many milligrams can we get per day would be 8 times 6 would be 48. So that would be the max milligrams this patient could get each day. And it's wonderful that you saw me go off track here because you will too. And you just catch yourself at the end and say, all right, this is what I'm really looking for. But again, the reason I caught myself is because I underlined, and I recommend that you do that too. It's a good catch. Okay, let's keep going. This one is saying fill the syringe, the dose that you will administer. So again, I have to figure out my volume. So it's doctor's order divided by concentration. And here my doctor's order is 6 milligrams. And my concentration, I see 10 milligrams. I see 1 milliliter. So I'm going to write 10 milligrams times 1 milliliter. Okay, at your calculator, you do 6 divided by 10, and you get 0.6. 0.6 what? Milliliters. And then I need to know how to fill in 0.6. And again, I'm just going to go right in here. This is a little tiny syringe that got blown up to be looking kind of fat, but it's a skinny little syringe there. So we can give less than 1 milliliter. Okay, so here we go. So 0.6 milliliters. Just make it clear that that's where you want to fill it in. Okay, let's keep going. I think Siri is listening, but we'll ignore her. All right, how many doses will you give per day? So that's just asking how many doses I'll give in a day. So I have to look at my doctor's order and see what my doctor ordered. And the doctor said QID, and you have to know what QID means. And that means 4 times a day, right? 4 times per day. That's it. That's all this question is asking you. So it's really important to just read the end here and just say, what do I have to answer, and stay focused on that. Okay, this question is asking how many micrograms that you'll give per dose. So for this, what do I need to know? I need to know how many micrograms per dose. That's going to be my order, and I'm giving 0.4 milligrams. So I just have to convert that into micrograms. So if I write 0.4 milligrams, micrograms is going to go to the right, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 decimal points. So it's 1, 2, 2 zeros. So my answer is 400 micrograms per dose. Okay, so that was just a conversion question. Okay, how many milligrams would you administer per day? Okay, I just need to know, again, milligrams per dose. And number 2, doses per day. Okay, how many milligrams per dose? That's my doctor's order. It's 750. And I need to know how many times I'm giving it. BID means 2 times per day. So it's 750 times 2 is 1500, right? Times 2. Always use the calculator. Don't trust yourself. So it's 1500 milligrams. Be really careful. Sometimes you want to write milliliters here because you're just so used to writing that. So make sure you keep your labels accurate too. Okay, there's another one. How many milliliters will you give per dose? Okay, this is the D over H times V. My D is 60 milligrams. Okay, and I have to find out my concentration here. It says there's 40 milligrams in the vial, and it says reconstitute with that. And then it says right here, a little bit different than the ones we've been looking at earlier, each 1 milliliter when mixed contains methylprednisone sodium succinate equivalent to 40 milligrams. So I'm going to do 40 milligrams times 1 milliliter, okay? And I can take off a 0 on the top and a 0 on the bottom. Just, again, makes the calculator a little more friendly. 6 divided by 4 equals 1.5. My answer is 1.5 milliliters, okay? All right, that is the end of this this video. If you have questions, please keep in mind that you can send me an email and we can meet anytime in our meetings, or you can talk to Elizabeth in the lab. I hope you enjoyed this video and have a wonderful evening. Thank you. Bye-bye.